She's 2 minutes early.
Thank you for helping out, Danny.
Oh, sure.
That was a curveball. We didn't expect.
Are you going to the other meeting at 3 o'clock in Cape May Courthouse? It's,
Oh, the Cape May County Commissioners.
it's commissioners from Southern New Jersey, but
No.
I've been to them before, and they're
It's basically a watchdog that we're setting
yeah,
up.
yeah.
Because they're so
You know,
corrupt.
but the commissioners all get together and they, you know, talk about the playground in Wildwood or something like that.
Yeah. No, I can't make it though.
All right, I'm going to do my hearing aids. So I have superhuman hearing.
Steve, how you doing? So I'll send over a draft of what I put together for the weekend. In truth, I'm not worried because I'm just taking the presentation, simplifying it, and then creating bullet points.
You can do this off the top of your head. You're like, it's, I agree with you. It's just a matter of picking this, and this, and for me, it'd be, I would struggle with it because I'm not really technically proficient or something. If you're, I know you're technically
closer to the
proficient, you would
project.
probably just like,
Yeah, I'm not worried about it, but I will send you my bullet point notes beforehand just so you can. No problem, I'll do that.
so as far as, you're gonna be talking about the water sustainability project, are you gonna do a little bit of an intro with the other ones, like a game plan? Just kind of like, and here's where you are with the next step with things? Or
So,
anything?
what I wanted to do was kind of recap, like introduce, or like remind them of what the project was during the spring. Summarize the 4 sections of the ultimate report. The first 3 briefly. Some of them have already been implemented too. And then expand probably like 5 minutes on the 4th one, which would be the tiered water pricing system and rebate system. And then talk about how at this time we don't really need to do anything except be aware that there is another cohort of students at Barnard and Columbia who are working on putting together a stakeholder engagement plan that then we can use as a roadmap. Yeah, that's it.
Good morning. In compliance with the Open Public Meetings Act of 1975, adequate notice of this meeting has been provided. If any member has reason to believe that this meeting is being held in violation of this act, they should state so at this time. Seeing none, pledge of allegiance.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, Dave, roll call, please.
Yep. Got it. Mike,
Yep.
Councilman Bodnar,
Here.
Christopher, Gretchen, Kimberly, Randall,
Presente.
Justine,
Here.
Barbara,
Present.
Sarah,
Here.
Charlotte,
It's from medical school.
myself.
Can we have minutes of October 28th? Anybody have any corrections or additions to that? We'll have a vote approved. All those in favor?
Yes?
Aye.
Aye. Oops.
All right, old business. The planning board, we had a relatively short meeting, the last meeting. We do have the affordable housing resolution coming back to us for review. Originally, we had approved only the 3 blocks in Center City, and then council wanted us to approve the whole C1 district, which we did, and now it's coming back to us because I'm not sure what's going on. Simple as that. We also heard an application from Carney's. We're going to redo their entrance doors a little bit, and it was pretty straightforward, and we approved that application. Okay. You want to say, you're up next?
Yeah, sure, okay. Just a couple matters to discuss. One is, at our last city council meeting, a resolution was passed awarding the bid for Harborview Park. It came in at $1.75 million. This is it's going to restore the park. There's a lot of work that's going to be done there. The timeframe for this is that we still plan on breaking ground and having this completed in the springtime. From the funding, a lot of the funding came through the source of that was through a county grant. I think we'd had an opportunity to look at the latest revised plans. They'd been revised a few times with some variations regarding particularly the plantings for the park. We had a chance to look at that, I think, last meeting or a recent meeting before this group as well. So excited to see that project finally getting to a point where we're going to have shovels in the ground. Also want to mention that we also passed a resolution approving a lead service line replacement project. Cape May, just like all communities, are required to develop and maintain an inventory of all water service line materials connected to the distribution system. Essentially, this is what's needed is to identify lead pipe and galvanized pipe with the idea that they need to be replaced. Cape May is obviously an older community. There has been work through, obviously, some of the new projects as they've been underway and have taken place, have replaced some of those materials. But by 2031, all community water systems are required to replace their lead service lines. So at this point, the city needs to identify all of those lead service lines, and this project is regarding the inventory and determining just what are the materials throughout the entire water service inventory. At this point, we've identified 3,224 unknown lines as far as whether they're lead or galvanized or whether they're safe. So that's clearly the focal point to identify those particular lines. A provider has been, an engineering firm has been approved to engage in identifying those lines. This is another project that is going to be paid for by way of a grant. The engineering firm came to City Council and gave a presentation last week and showed some information.
they have kind of like a high-tech way of being able to identify some of these lines. So it's, it looks like it's going to be, this is a significant first step in replacing the lines. But this is a project that's going to begin this fall, starting with outreach to the community, people that have unidentified lines. Anybody is listening, you're going to be receiving a mailer from the engineering firm if you have an unidentified line. The city and the engineering firm is doing outreach through door hangers, as well as trying to canvass and get the word out. When the inspections take place, they're going to be brief at individuals' homes. They do need to go and be able to inspect, in a lot of instances, just below an individual's home, but it might be, say, a 15-minute inspection. And it is an important step because at some point, it needs to be identified as far as whether people may have galvanized or lead pipes because they'll be targeted for replacement. The field investigation aspect of this will take place in the fall and winter of 2025, projecting that construction of this, because after they're identified, the pipes are identified, construction probably wouldn't take place until 2026 and last through 2028, but that would still put Cape May well ahead of the projected deadline, or the deadline of 2031.
Is that a statewide mandate?
It is. And so that's again, that's the project that's taken place.
How many are projected to be here?
So they have identified, they have a map, and there are, and Paul's going to step up and can provide more information on this, but there's over 3,000
There's
properties.
just over 3,000 that we don't know exactly what type of material there is from the meter into the house. We have a very good record of from the meter that's connected to the main, and we're probably, we'll probably have all of those replaced here real shortly, but it's from the main, from the water meter into the house, we have 3,000 that we have to figure out with. And that's what this project is starting to do. And then we'll be applying for grant money as part of that to have those lines replaced for free if, into your home. But we are, as part of that, that technology that Steve talked about, we are looking for about 30 property owners that would help volunteer to help do a pilot study program for this new technology. And we're looking for people that have known lead service line. So if you have a galvanized line from the street into your home, we're looking for some of those volunteers to test it with this new technology to show that it's an easier way to locate lead service lines. But as a pilot study, we're trying to find volunteers to help us out in the beginning part of this project.
May I make a recommendation? As you're looking for volunteers, or if you're struggling to have residents comply happily with the program, perhaps a PSA or information on the door hanger that
We have that.
discusses the health risk.
That's also included on the city's website. We have that information also.
Okay.
Would there be a timeline as far as construction or age of these homes that were put in with lead?
Well, typically, lead service lines were potentially used in homes up until very early 80s, not really, around here probably in the mid-70s. So if you have an older home, which obviously, in Cape May, we have a lot of older homes, there's a good chance that you have most likely a galvanized pipe service line. And what some people have realized, if you think back, if you've owned your home for a lot of times that galvanized pipe will corrode and maybe get a leak in it, like right when it comes through the building. And your plumber, to save a homeowner money, they only replace a section to get it outside, and then they, so that, it looks like in the house, I've got a nice copper pipe in the house, but, 4 feet outside the house from there to the meter, it's a galvanized pipe, and you don't besides the obvious health risks, it'll eventually will corrode and leak, and then you've got to
Galvanized
replace it.
pipe versus lead, or is it
So-
galvanized, it has some lead there?
Well, the galvanized pipe will leach metals
Okay.
similar to what the lead pipes are, so it's not lead, but it's
But it still has to be replaced.
still has to be replaced, yes. But traditionally, where we see lead is not lead pipe, it's lead fittings, whether it's, at one of these connection points would have lead
Now, these
in the
pressured
connection.
lines, or they
Pressure lines,
they're pressured lines?
yes, yeah. It's your water line coming in from the street, so they're pressure pipelines.
What role does water testing play?
What is that?
What role does water?
So we have to go through a yearly, we have a set of known properties that we test every year as part of our sampling program that we do at the DEP, and we test to make sure that the water in our lines, even though that there's galvanized pipe, meets the safe requirements.
So for an individual homeowner, if they have had their water tested, like, on their own, on their own account in the past several years, would they then be compelled to participate in this?
Well, if we
project?
identify it, we're going to have to replace the lead service line. This is not galvanized pipes that would be in your house. This is just the galvanized service line from the street into the house. But that water test,
I
but
guess-
see, the only time that you're really going to pick up that on a water test, and most of the water tests won't find it, is because you have to flush the water. The problem is when the water lays in the pipe overnight, or if you haven't been there for a month or two and you come back and you use that first wash of water, that's when you have a continued long exposure of drinking that water. It normally won't show up, it won't fail as a lead test in a standardized water test that you're going to find.
I think that would be helpful information for people.
And that's what we have on our
have.
website.
Okay.
yeah.
Well, I went through this. I had my children tested high for lead from drinking water here a few years ago, and we had to go through a whole testing process at the house. So sensitive subject
Yes.
for me. Sorry for all the
Yeah,
questions.
no,
but-
and that's why the
Is that on
city's,
Washington Street? Is that what on Washington?
Yeah, and it turns out it was fine, but in the process of going through that, I learned a lot about it, and it is scary.
yes.
So, huh.
Steve, got any more? Anything else you want to say?
So, was there anything more on the lead pipes, Paul?
No,
you would add?
just please, we have a lot of information that talks about the risks and the exposure for lead in the pipes, and it's important to help participate and help us find it. That's why the city's been very proactive in removing lead pipes in the distribution main and up to the meter. So I think we only have about 10 or 12 connections left in the city from that respect, but now we're really trying to hit, the service connections behind the meter and making sure that everybody's connection is as safe as it can be.
I don't want to put you on the spot, but I know in the presentation, the outreach team mentioned about the mailers that they're going to be sending out
Yes.
to the ones they
Well,
don't.
the
know.
mailers will,
Do you know- do you know
go to everybody, so the mailers.
Okay.
and
When
your-
is that going to go out?
So it's going to go in your next water bill.
Okay.
In your next water bill, you'll get a mailer that'll talk about the program, and it'll have information on self-reporting, and more about the program to reach out to us.
Are these like, what, inch and a quarter, inch and a half lines? Is that what we're talking about here?
It's usually a 1 inch, 3/4 or 1 inch line coming in from the street, inch and a half possibly.
Okay, thanks, Paul. The last thing I wanted to mention is, Mike, I had mentioned this to you at the beginning of the meeting. The fire department just received a new ladder truck, which just went into, I guess it's in service now. It just was delivered this past Wednesday. Last Wednesday, it seems like it was so long ago already. But last Wednesday, I think, it was Friday, okay, maybe that's why. So one of the features that's, aside from it being new and necessary equipment, one of the things that stood out to me is that turning radius on this truck is particularly tight, which is a real plus. I think our fire department, they have already driven I'm sure this one as well, but they had driven the same truck throughout town and realized that it would, in some of our narrow streets, that they would be able to have a lot more accessibility with this truck than they would have had with the prior piece that it's replacing. So I think it's a welcome addition to the fire department, and it's just part of another element of keeping the city safe.
Are you going to sell the other ladder truck?
And that's
Yeah,
what I
so if
have.
you're looking for a used ladder truck, we have one for sale. Yes, Mike.
Okay. Good information to know. Yeah, my neighbor.
Well, you can't park it in the front of the house. You'd have to park it in your side yard or rear yard here in the city of Cape May.
Okay. I can do that, yeah. Justine, you want anything on the Columbia update?
Yeah, briefly, I met with one of the working groups last week, and they were relaying to me some of the updates. There are 4 working groups, and some are looking at macro system recommendations, more infrastructure-based, like citywide approaches to coastal resilience and the mitigation of flooding. Other groups are looking at micro-level recommendations, so how can individual residences implement certain building materials, architectural methods, landscaping choices to help mitigate flooding. One of the topics that came up was the installation of sponge gardens in parks, which, and I don't know if you're familiar with the method, but it's used pretty widely in Asia, very successfully. Basically creates a lot of surface area that can absorb water, both through rainwater and tidal flooding, storms, and just, normal water buildup. And it can be like large scale or small scale. They're also looking at more options for permeable surface. They're revisiting the ordinances that the HPC uses to, I guess, and also planning for addressing the ratios of permeable to impermeable surface on different lots. And different types of materials. Like, apparently there are actually asphalt and concrete-like materials that will, instead of causing runoff, just absorb water. So the recommendations will be quite varied. There should be a whole menu for us to read through, but they seem to really be on the right track. John Becker, the chair of the HPC, was in that meeting. He was thrilled with the direction that it was moving. One of the working groups is meeting with Paul soon, next week?
You can get a confirmation
Okay.
on the date, but I know we were trying to set something up.
Yeah, they have questions related to finance and different programs that they're hoping to recommend as well. The final report will be in mid-December, probably right around the 15th, 17th, something like that. So that's the current project. The one from the spring, just to circle back on that very briefly, I am giving a presentation to City Council on December 2nd, next Tuesday, just briefly summarizing the 4 different sections of it, and because it's likely that they haven't read the incredibly long final report, and then giving them the update on the tiered water pricing system and rebate system that we're hoping at some point in the next few years we can actually make actionable, and giving them an update on the timeline coming out of the climate school through the partnership with Barnard College and the students there who are putting together a stakeholder engagement plan, a roadmap for us. So that's the update.
That's next Tuesday, you're doing that?
Correct.
Okay, on new business, Paul, while you're here, you're going to talk about Sustainable New Jersey a little bit?
Sure. Yep.
And David, I guess, or just you? I don't know.
I was going to cover it. So Sustainable Jersey is kind of revamping the whole program. So they're kind of taking 26 off, I'm going to say, to some degree, as they revamp and redo the program and how it's going to be scored. And they're also adding a gold level to the program. So there's not going to be a lot to, I'll say, to focus on and do as far as Sustainable Jersey for next year. Obviously, we're going to keep up the actions that we're doing and kind of keep them moving forward, but as far as jumping in and doing certification and really going through the nuts and bolts, we're kind of going to pause for next year until they come out with the new guidelines for that.
Okay. Those are good. You want to talk about the police building? You want to talk about the police building?
Police building, so if you drove by the police building down there, you saw some activity there. Today is, I'll say, the first official work. They're kind of boxing out the where the building location is in anticipation for the foundation work to be starting on next Monday. So it's really going to be full steam ahead from now on for the next year and a half. So looking forward to it.
Projection time to finish it? You said a year and a half?
I think I'm looking at spring of 2027.
Okay,
So a year and 3 months from now, a year and 4 months from now.
nice. It's right on the corner, isn't it?
It's right on it's a corner property, yes.
I had, at the last meeting, asked if we could learn more about the different sustainability measures or like building methods that were integrated into the police station. Because there is that ordinance in Cape May City that government buildings should first consider sustainable materials and methods. So I didn't know what.
I'd have to look at
station-
what the architect did to get a report from him on that specifically. I know it was designed and set up to have solar installed on the roof. I know from the roof material we're looking at is instead of using a traditional, more expensive slate, we're using a synthetic slate product to be more economical and ecological, so we're not using up a resource. But I have to look at whatever other energy conservation issues that they brought into the building.
Okay, we were just curious. I'm happy to hear about the solar, but anything else would just be great insight to have.
Sure.
We had sent you a memo about the nature trail, the nature center. Did you get that from Gretchen? Did you have a chance to look at that at all? Some of the stuff that we thought we ought to try and maintain it a little bit better or try and maintain certain ideas into it, that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I think that there's a lot of opportunities to do stuff along that trail, and that's stuff that we'll try to implement as we move forward with implementing the maintenance of that trail. I think, yeah, it has a lot of opportunities to do some good stuff out there. That
On
Gretchen.
this group, we are probably going to hear from us again on that one, I'm sure. Okay.
Yeah, whatever, but you're going to hear from you, but I'm also going to ask you to help be involved in,
Absolutely, no question about it.
and, really working with David and myself and moving that forward.
I got a memo. Well, I didn't get the park info. This was just on the, I mean, you talking about Harbor View, or you talking about Lafayette? I didn't get anything on that.
No, this is or you're talking about the Cape May Nature Trails.
The nature
The
trails.
nature trails, yes.
I know, I didn't get anything from what you wanted to do on the park. No, not at all. Anybody else have any questions on Paul? Anybody? Charlotte, you have any questions about Paul?
I've got a little report here. Does Paul have a few minutes to stay for that, or?
Yeah, we're good. You got the floor.
Okay, well then I'll just skip to it, because, as a historian, one of the things I do is keep a whole lot of records, and I'm thrilled that we have, basically Paul and John in the same room at the same time with some of these records that I've uncovered one more time. And actually, I did have them copied at my expense because I think they're really important for people as we have wonderful new employees and people who are willing to serve on council and members of our own commission here reminded of some of these ordinances and resolutions that were passed. And the earliest one that I have records identifies water conservation and restrictions from 1997. And then I have one on landscaping from 1997, one on stormwater, 2005, then one on green buildings and what they should include for sustainability from 2011, and then a balloon ordinance from 2017, then one for plastic packaging from 2019, and one for green grounds maintenance policy, and then from 2021, an ordinance authorizing and encouraging electric vehicle supply and make-ready parking spaces. After that, 2022, regulation of invasive species, and the last one that I have a record of is from 2024, a dark sky resolution. So I am hoping that as we have passed these, that all new folks serving our town would have a chance to look at some of these and make certain as we go along that these topics are passed on when we finalize anything at the planning board or at a city council meeting or at a zoning board meeting, because these should be utmost in everyone's mind so that we continue to endorse those regulations that we feel are important enough to make into a resolution or into an ordinance. So with all of that said, I pulled out one, and I'll read just the first paragraph of this resolution from 2011, which is the adoption of a green building practice. And it says, whereas buildings account for 39% of carbon dioxide emissions, more than either transportation or industrial sectors. In addition, buildings account for nearly 12% of potable water use, 65% of waste output, 71% of electricity consumption. And this comes from the Green Building Council from the U.S. And then it goes on to talk about our master plan and how our master plan documents and encourages sustainability and green design. So I'm very pleased, and I thank you all for thinking that we will have some wonderful solar panels on this new police station that we're going to build. Think too that probably the planning board members, when we get a new group, surely understand each one of these particular ordinances or resolutions, so that when they're making decisions for our city, that they have something to hang their hat on, that they're not just grasping at straws, that these are suggestions that have become legal documents for Cape May. Anyway, I would like to say that I have given extra copies all of these resolutions and ordinances to David, and it would please me no end if David could pass along to our city manager and to our new councilman, John, copies of these particular documents. So that's what I wanted to bring forward today as we go into a new year, that we don't forget all the hard work that we've put in so far into the city of Cape May as we continue with planning. One of the things I think we really ought to concentrate on as we go forward into the new year is water saving. Here we are, 25 years later, and I sitting on that particular board when we were looking at having to put in a new desal plant 25 years ago, actually 27 years ago. And had we been maybe a little bit stricter with water and its use, maybe we could have extended the life even a few more years of our desal plant. So hopefully this will be what we're looking at in the new year. How can we possibly convince those people who come to our beautiful town, and we welcome them, of course, but maybe as people who are here for a short visit, renting, or visiting relatives and so forth, how do we impact them with knowing that water usage must be respected from the time they come and visit to the time they leave, because we do have this sort of handicap. We are putting in a new desal plant, and how many more of those can we do in a lifetime? So that's all very generous in listening to me about all this, and I thank you.
All right, thanks, Charlotte. Dave, you said, did you get those copies yet, or were you trying to, you will get those ordinances? Yeah, all right, we'll follow through on that, Charlotte. We'll figure out something to do with all those, the resolutions and the ordinances, okay?
Thank you.
Okey-doke. Paul, any comments on any of that stuff?
No, it's just a lot of history to keep track of and pass along
I
from
guarantee you, people on the planning
generation to.
board don't know all that stuff. I'll
That's
guarantee you that.
so disappointing.
It is disappointing.
How can someone properly serve on the planning board if they're,
Not only planning board, but zoning board.
Yeah, but-
and all the
Sure.
boards.
But the problem,
Absolutely.
but see, the problem is when you look at what the planning board looks at, they look at the planning, their implementation ordinances that talk about zoning. A lot of the ordinances that Charlotte referenced aren't in the zoning ordinance. So the planning board does not really have control over implementing into them to projects. So that's where there's the disconnect in a lot of those issues. And because that, and really that happens is because a lot of those issues that are brought up into these are more broad brush sweeping issues that Sustainable Jersey or some other group comes up with an idea and comes up with a model ordinance, but it's a general principle ordinance, not an ordinance that has any teeth when it comes to planning and zoning at the planning board level. Sometimes you can implement them, it ends up being a code enforcement issue, and, I'll just say, a perfect example is, the irrigating your lawn,
Yeah, the
the
water
different
conservation.
this different stipulations in that. Just to regulate that would be an enormous task, but it's on the books, but there again, doesn't get a lot of teeth into it. I would disagree. Even if we had additional water conservation measures, it wouldn't have delayed the implementation or the need for a new desalination plant. That would have, the amount of water that we process through the desal plant doesn't make it break down or need to be replaced sooner. what water conservation would have done back 20, 40 years ago would have been, oh, we wouldn't have needed the desal plant. Maybe it would have delayed us getting it, and it would have delayed saltwater intrusion into the aquifer. But once we started needing it, the amount of water we put through there doesn't change how quickly it wears out. But that's the disconnect from the planning and zoning board.
Let the membranes give out, like there's a longevity to the membranes that are used, and that is dependent upon the amount of water that's processed.
But it's not just the membranes, it's all the different components and parts, and you can't, like the seals at the end, they don't even make them anymore. So we're having to get customized things built to just do general maintenance of it. So it's not that, it's everything. Because they just have a longevity life that doesn't last.
Well, I mean, Charlotte is right. If visitors did know about this issue, if it, was something that they were educated about upon their arrival, it would be a great thing. So perhaps that can be one of the outcomes of the presentation that I'm giving next week, and ultimately the project that Columbia worked on last spring. They have a number of suggestions for how to make that happen, from mirror stickers to toilet stickers to brochures for, when a landlord has a vacation rental or a hotel owner, they're applying for mercantile licenses, make sure that like with their sticker, they are also getting pamphlets, handouts that can be presented to visitors, just kind of bombarding them with information through a number of different avenues and material types. So, I mean, there's some philosophy behind it, but it's like we need to be exposed to new information a certain number of times before it actually is something that we remember. So perhaps that approach should be applied to visitors as well.
I can't help but think that the planning board members ought to look at those ordinances and have that sit in the back of their minds for everything that they process, that comes in front of them. Same for the zoning board. Well, I'm going to talk to you about that. I want to get that out to people.
Yeah, I have some thoughts on that as well. So maybe after the meeting, we can talk about that.
Let's see here, all right, so David, you got a comment on the Monarch Pledge? Is that, you want to say something about that?
Yeah, so we just received a certificate for 2025, so we passed with the Monarch Pledge, so it's through the National Wildlife Federation, so. Yep.
And any program planning for 2026? We wanted to comment on, make sure the dates for our meetings, dates for next year, correct?
Yeah, so we need to speak about for next year, if we're going to continue with the same dates we did this year. And then also for December, we're
not having a meeting this next December, but I think, for the most part, I think the meeting dates ought to be relatively the same for next year. Anybody have a problem with that? Yep,
It's a good idea, thank you.
okay. Anybody else have any new business that you want to speak about? How about for discussion, Dave, you got a comment about the trail map, the nature? No. Nothing? Okay. How about the seedling applications? Nothing on that? I'm sorry? The seedling application, the tree seeding for the
Yeah, so I just want to bring it, I mean, I haven't really looked into too much yet, but there's an application we can put in to get seedlings.
okay.
I think maybe we can do something in terms of.
Native tree seedlings, yes?
Yeah, yep. That'd be kind of a cool event to do in the spring where we can actually hand out the seedlings to
Kind of like a dune day.
local, correct, yeah. So bill for local residents, obviously I want to make sure they're all native, again, by checking the list, but it's an application we can apply for. I think it'd be a fun little spring day where we can have like a tree giveaway at Lafayette Street, so I want to see what your guys' feelings was on that. And
I'm not sure what's left on the meeting, but I was telling Dave, I went out there to look at the seedlings that we put on the dunes. I couldn't find them. I went out there and I knew where we planted, and I went out there and I could not find them out there.
Does that mean they've grown?
I don't
past
know.
the
I
other
want to go
ones?
out with Dave, make sure that I'm not wacky and I was in the wrong spot. I mean, I
It was
really,
on Howard, wasn't it?
what's that?
What street was it on?
No, it was between, just this side of Queen, right? It was just this side of Queen Street.
Yeah, so it's, if you're looking at Queen Street Beach from the street, it's to the right-hand side.
Yeah.
Right.
The one full block. I'm sure they're still there, so.
Well, I'm
we'll-
sure they're still
Yeah,
there.
yeah.
I'd like to find them.
Yeah, I mean, I can take a look, say after the meeting.
Because I was meticulous in where I planted. I really planted my patch there, and I wanted to check my patch out to see how it was doing.
You wrote your name in the sand,
And I
too,
couldn't
didn't
find
you?
it. I couldn't find it, really. Anybody else have any more about the, all right, so we're not having a meeting next month. In January, we'll have our next meeting again, all right?
So I have a question
Yeah,
for
go ahead.
Dave. Dave, do you need us as a committee to step up and take some initiatives? Like, do you need us to, this native tree planting
Well, I think for
application?
planning, we'll definitely need a, I think, group more together to kind of decide who takes what part of the event. So we have like the Dune Day, if you want to do the tree giveaway, the trails cleanups, there's things like that. I think we got to get together more, kind of decide what events we want to do early in the year, so when we get the budget, I can kind of prepare for that and put everything out ahead of time.
And let's put that on the January meeting. We'll talk about exactly the things that we want to do for the year, for sure, okay?
So regarding that, I did have one suggestion for you guys. If you guys wanted to, as part of like Arbor Day and planting a tree for next year, and in coordination with the 250th anniversary of whether or not we wanted to reach out and get a Liberty tree and plant a Liberty tree at one of our parks and make it as part of our anniversary celebrations next year, that might be a opportunity to have an event around Arbor Day and plant a Liberty tree.
Okay. We'll bring that up at our next meeting.
I just,
Okay.
Paul, when do you need to have that information?
will we be putting that together? I mean, if it sounds like an idea that you guys are good with, I just need to have Casey put it on her calendar of events.
Yeah. Got it.
As we put forward to it, but I think it's, would be a good, it's always good to plant trees around Arbor Day, and we're a tree city, so it's a good positive thing. I'm also gonna be discussing it with Shade Tree, but I think, that type of a thing is a crossover type of a thing between this.
Casey's doing this?
Well, Casey's coordinating the schedule of events. In other words, we're putting out a whole calendar of events that regards the whole celebration, the 250th anniversary of the country, 175th of the city, and the 50th of the national landmark status. So we're doing we're making sure our whole calendar of event around those types of things are going to be publicized early. So I'm anticipating talking with Shade Tree about doing a tree planting for a Liberty tree around Arbor Day.
Okay.
So,
Do you need to hear before the January meeting? Because if you're going to publication or anything like that, I want to make sure that you have that information.
as long as we have it on everybody's calendar that that's going to be an event we're having. But I had anticipated,
Include the environmental commission. on that.
yes.
So did you want the Environmental Commission to run the event, or you want us to?
I'll talk, I know that we're going to have the event.
Okay.
Shade Tree may prefer to take the lead on it, but I'll look to have you guys incorporated and copied in it, just because something like that, there's a lot of crossover for that type of
Yeah,
an event.
I'm sure Gretchen would have recommendations on which type of tree.
Well, it's a Liberty tree. It's the type of tree is,
That's a
That's-
species of tree?
yes.
A Liberty tree?
Yeah, it's a certain species of elm. It's an elm.
Oh, okay, so no, cool.
Yeah, that's the Liberty tree is the common name, but it's all taken from the Liberty tree that was up in Massachusetts. I forget where it was, but a true Liberty tree is a seedling from that 400-year-old tree.
Oak,
Okay.
right? It's an oak tree?
Yes, but I think in this time they've morphed it into a lot of. I don't think that it's harder to get the actual Liberty Tree seedlings now. It's like a big application process, so, but that was one of the other events that we were proposing was to get plant a Liberty Tree on the 250th anniversary for Harbor Day.
Okay. Anybody else have anything? Motion to adjourn?
I make a motion.
Okay. All right,
Thank you.
Mike's off.